What do you mean record?
Can you guys hear me well? Like,
I'm terrified. Am I the only one?
Oh, brother.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Avonlea Tales. Today we are going to be discussing all things sherbet. So my name is Evelyn.
My name is Sav.
I'm Becky.
And I'm Layla.
Becky, you want to start since I think you're one of kind of the primary original kind of scenes for season 1.
I am. So I've given this some thought, and I have decided when I was thinking back on season 1, my favorite is just all of 103. No specific scene, really. Just the whole thing as a whole.
That makes sense.
To be honest, 103 is just a cinematic masterpiece.
Because you say to everybody, like when you start watching it, you're like, yeah, episode 1, that's okay. Episode 2, yeah, like it's lovely. I was hooked by then, but wait until episode 3 and like that's you. You're in. You wait until 103 and what, like 22 minutes in or something like that, and you're in. That's you.
Yes. The timestamp. You don't know the timestamp.
In case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, this is Gilbert's intro.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
and he steps out of the mist.
Literally.
Out of the mist and goes, do you need any, is there any dragons around here?
No. Before he gets to that, he scares away Billy because he's like,
is everything all right here or something?
Yeah.
You guys are playing a game or something.
Yeah, you guys play.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
And surprisingly, we're gushing about Gilbert and not talking about sherbet, so rewind.
No, I was going to say, like, he says some word in there where it's like the first, last, and only time he sounds so Canadian because he says "a." Mr. Buenas tardy, eh? And it was like,
yeah.
The rest of the time he doesn't sound Canadian, but it's like that one time it's like someone must have told him, okay, you got to say "a" so that you can establish that you're Canadian.
Listen, the Canadian here. It's just, it does, I guess. Yeah, we do say it a lot. It's just, I don't know.
It's a good sherbet moment. It establishes the dynamic between the two. And while Anne doesn't like being the damsel in distress in this moment, she is grateful for this person who has, quote unquote, rescued her from, a situation she might not have liked.
And I think it suits her in that season because she's very, she's got these really romanticized ideas in that season, and that sort of reflects what she would have thought was all right, because she didn't really start sort of establishing more. Well, she did, to be fair. She was a feminist beforehand. Let's not all get ourselves confused, Becky. How dare you? But she, before that, just during that season, that was kind of her ideal.
I think there's when those scripts were released too. From the casting scripts or something, and says,
oh my god,
Gilbert is everybody's hero, not just Anne's, or something like this. I thought that was
Hold on, I have it saved.
Because I remember, I've said beforehand, I didn't know very much about Anne of Green Gables beforehand, and so before that, I kind of don't want to talk about him, but will mention very briefly that I kind of thought that Jerry and Anne were supposed to be a thing.
Right.
Oh, I have it.
Me too.
Hold on.
I didn't really know. I didn't really know the story. I came from a very, very blind.
Okay, hold on. So this is when Gilbert, she's walked up to the door, and then, she says, "I'm Anne," and then he goes, and then all the kids come rushing, and they say, "Gilbert," and then he, is pulled away by the friends, and he goes, Anne stares at Gilbert for a beat. Suddenly, she's aware that he's everybody's hero, not just her. She seized the frenzied moment to scurry out of the room.
Not me getting emotional over that.
I know, and it's so sweet. It's such a perfect explanation of her understanding
what happened.
Because at first she's like, he's done this for me. This is a me thing. And granted, she's a little bit, self-absorbed in herself in that season, only thinking about herself, but she has a right to be. But it's in that moment, she's all, oh my gosh, this is, he's doing this for me. But then she understands at that other moment, well, no, this is what he always does. So, but yeah, season 3 is a terrific moment, or episode 3, apologies.
It is, yeah. I remember watching it for the first time, and like I said, I thought it was going to be Anne and Jerry. And then it just sort of, she trips over in the forest and he stepped out of the mist, and I was like, he's here.
Excuse me, who are you?
And he's perfect.
I mean, I don't think I became 100% hooked until that Slate scene. I mean, you know, you know, he's trying to get her attention. I don't know how anybody else didn't know. Well, people know this, but he's like throwing some rocks, then he throws some paper, and then he's like going over. He's like, "Oops!" I'm like, "Dude, you didn't drop."
He was so, okay. Can we talk about how smooth he was, and then he wasn't, and then he was again?
Yeah,
like,
literally.
It was like
what?
Well, the thing is, I feel like in this moment, he was only doing it because she wasn't like everybody else. She was different, so it's like
she was so different. She didn't wear makeup.
Not like the other girl. But it's like
she's not like the other girls.
But it's like he wasn't used to, you know, this girl blatantly ignoring him, being like, "Shut the fuck up, dude. I don't want anything to do with you." You know, because he was like, "Oh, at the beginning she was super kind to me, and now she's like, I don't want anything to do with you." So he's like, well, "What's up?" But then he goes, you know, I think in the moment when he sees her hair, and I just love the facial expressions that he does, because it's just such a, it's so dynamic, and it's so interesting to kind of explore and understand, because, you know, before he's just kind of searching and looking at her, but then like it kind of switches a bit in his eyes, and he starts to become a little angry, and he starts to be more like his age, and instead of being the suave kid that he's, you know, been, he starts acting like his age, and he, you know, calls her name thinking that that's going to do anything, and she's just like, "Fuck you."
Vibe check.
Yeah.
I think it's like only one of the only episodes like where we see Gil as he is in the books, like where he's like this popular kid who's like kind of snobby a little bit cocky. And like cocky, yeah. But like after that, he's not.
Yeah.
He's like a sweet little kid trying to get her attention.
And my favorite addition in Anne with an E is like how he responds to "I'm not talking to you."
Yeah.
You just did. It's just amazing.
I thought you were going to say the poetry. The poetry makes me cringe a little. But like everybody else is laughing when she's reading out.
Oh yeah.
The Emily Fisher or something like that. And everybody else is laughing, and he's just like
of the sea.
Hard eyes.
And obviously Charlie in the background just nodding along. I feel like Charlie's crush was heavily influenced by Gilbert.
Oh my god,
it's a cute girl, duh.
I mean, having to sit by this guy for like 3.5 years while all Gilbert does is like stare at Anne in the middle of class, like you're bound to be like, what the fuck is he looking at? Why is he looking at her? I think that's a great moment, Becky, and I love it so much.
It is. It's a good episode.
So mine is the like tiny little moment in 104 where they're after the Galis fire, where Anne and Gilbert are just like looking at each other, or like Gilbert's trying to get her attention, and Anne's just like not having it after she brings the scones with Ruby. I don't know, I think it's just like so soft and so like
what I love most
childish about it. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Perfect. And he's wearing the red jacket, so
oh yeah.
Of course.
A really good soft moment. And
I think there's like a little like understanding kind of sort of moment there. Well, like we don't know what it is, but they're just like they look really like almost like let's not smile at each other.
Yeah.
I just think it's so tense. It's like it's the first moment they've seen each other since Anne was like, I just smacked this guy, and Gilbert's like, God damn. I think she's more like, oh my god, what am I gonna say to him? I haven't seen him since then. Like, and she's just like,
yeah.
And she's
Gilbert
also
wants to say something.
And she's also like, I don't want to talk to you. You're the worst kid in the world. I hate you. And he's like, oh my god, this is the first time I've seen my crush.
And poor Ruby, just sitting there, just like, thank you, Gilbert. Like,
Girl made the room.
I mean, Ruby's all of us in that moment. You know, we're not paying attention to Anne and Gilbert, you know, having their moment. She's just like, she's living her best life.
And then Anne also had just said the whole like thing to Billy, so he's just like, oh my god, this girl.
I love the little news flash they just or headline they just did. Yes. It's so funny, like so.
What I love
like,
about that moment is the fact that it's a voiceover. You can hear it's a voiceover because it sounds different. Yeah. It's a voiceover.
I don't think I've ever had sense
for. I'm really big on like figuring out where the voiceovers are. Like, going back to episode 1, season 3. Episode 3, season 1, when he gives her the apple, that's a voiceover. When he says, you know, they're really sweet. I picked them from my dad's garden, or I picked them from our orchard. That's a voiceover.
Wow, never picked up on
Because
that.
it just sounds a tad different. Sorry, I just
I don't think I would have ever noticed.
Yeah, neither.
Yeah,
I think Sav is next. Episode
Sav
5.
is the one.
Yes, the good old spelling bee.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yes.
No one has ever been happier to spell something wrong.
No.
Than Gilbert was in that moment. He was like, "Oh, I've got the perfect line for this. Later on, I'm gonna use this."
Do you all think 100% it was done on purpose?
Oh, it was done on purpose.
Oh,
really?
Yes.
Am I the only one on the questions sometimes?
No, because like he looks at her and she seems really like off her game. I feel like he picked up on that and was like, I'm gonna let her win.
And like she's not gonna give up.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
and then,
not giving up anytime soon.
And then he's like, I'm gonna use this whole E situation, like the letter E. And she's gonna love it, but she could not care less because she was just in another world.
Granted, she's also getting cramps, so it's like I don't blame her for not, getting like into it.
Yeah.
I love how the episode opens. Like it's like a snowy day or something, and like it pans to the schoolhouse. It's so perfectly done. Like the children are cheering. I love it.
Yeah, it's so cute.
Well, and
Mr. Phillips is being a creep.
No,
as per usual.
What I love most about the words they used, I used to have some pictures about the words, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. But it's like they're all perfectly relatable to the relationship they have Sherbert built in all of our 3 seasons together. Hati is one of them, and then obviously that engagement, but I can't remember the other ones. But it's like
is persistent.
Something. Anne's very haughty at first to Gilbert, but Gilbert is persistent in getting to know her and getting to know who she is under that tough exterior, and then
intentions.
They both want them to know the other's intentions with each other, and then going forth, and then obviously we've got engagement.
Rules eyes, because we haven't been given that yet.
Well,
they would have had a parallel to the engagement, like 1,000%.
But what I love most about the spelling bee is whose name starts with an S and ends with an N, who really loves money, and he is very into
I know what you're talking about.
That they
took a while
blatantly somehow were doing something that he didn't like and wanted the cash grab. So that's my favorite part about spelling bee. Our dear friend.
That's a fair assessment.
Our dear friend AS. But yeah, that's a great one. I love those ones. And then
and like his grin, the grinning
the
entire time.
But also the hard eyes. The hard eyes are the best.
When she's walking back to her seat, he completely
checks her out.
Yes. There's so many there's so many crack videos about that.
Yes, oh my god,
so crack videos. Oh my god, the editing, immaculate.
Right. But yeah,
I think
spelling bee is a great one. And
I think it's your turn, Evelyn.
Yeah.
Yes. Episode 10.
Yes, episode 10. So
sorry, episode 7. There's not 10 episodes in season 1.
I'm so used to saying 10. Mine is anyway. So obviously we've got Anne and Gilbert on their little date. But before the moment that I really enjoy, I just kind of like that moment in, I think it's Charlottetown, where they see each other for the first time since his father died.
They seem almost
relieved. He takes her elbow.
Well, and then also, I think when he sees her, it's kind of one of the first time he's been like, his heart started fluttering and like he's really kind of felt alive again since his father passed.
And also it's the first time after their little like when she tries to like to make him feel better, and he was like, this isn't about you, or like that little
about you.
And
not
I feel like both of them are so relieved to see each other after that, so they can clear the air.
And I really love the moment where they're in the coffee shop together and they're airing their grievances, and she's like, I need to apologize for you, and she's like, no. He's like, no, you don't.
No, I should apologize.
And then they get into a little staring, and then he just gets in and gives her a little smirk, and I think,
can we not argue for once?
I know, and I think just having that moment for him just allows him to go back into the life he used to have and just forget about everything for a moment. Just forget about all his worries, his concerns, and just be in that moment with Anne and I. Then we get to the anyways, and I think at that moment she doesn't realize what the anyways mean to him. in the moment he's when it's the anyways for her, she's just kind of like, okay, you know, trying to go on to the next topic. But for him anyways, it's like, I got to get back to my real life and I don't want to. And just like that look of sorrow that kind of turns in his eyes, it's just a good moment. And then afterwards, when they go out, they have the little spelling bee, and you know, he smiles, I think, for the first time since his father passed,
and the little elbow guiding away outside.
Yes. Oh, that was so good. And just looks at him like, who, what? Like, her face is just like so shook.
Jerry just turns him into like a full-blown tricycle.
And Jerry comes
they
around.
They don't need a third wheel, thanks.
Jerry tries to fight Gilbert. Gilbert's like, dude, off. And then Jerry with Jay interrupts Anna and Gilbert having a moment. He's like, what?
Let's be honest. If Jerry didn't interrupt, they would have just stared into each other's eyes.
I honestly wonder
for hours. Good
moment.
moment. That's a
I
great
feel like
moment.
they would have even been like, right to me or something. Like they would have gotten to that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they would have got there. But they got there.
God damn, Jerry. Read the room, buddy.
There's a lot of those in sherbet moments because no one picks up on it ever, except for like Diana or like, you know, a few people. But
I don't know.
I think, you know, I've got grievances with Mrs. Rachel Lynde in one scene in particular that we will talk about later, I'm sure. But like nosiest woman in all of Avonlea, and she doesn't notice that.
No.
I know.
Rachel, what's good?
Girl. Okay, so should we move on to season 2?
Hell yeah.
So I think our first person is Layla.
Oh yes, it's me. Actually, so I guess it is still a Sherbet moment, but it's a parallel moment. And I believe it's in episode 1 where and who was it first? It's Anne looking out to the ocean, I think, where she's like with Marilla and Matthew on the trip, and then it like cuts to Gilbert looking out at the ocean after he had his conversation with Bash, I believe. And I don't know, it's just like such a we're soulmates, we're connected, but like we don't know we're connected yet moment. And like after, you know, not having seen them for like a year or whatever, which is like such a good way to connect them, even though they were like worlds apart technically. And I really appreciated that. And I know that it's a lot of like fan favorite moments. But yeah, it was just so
beautiful.
Yeah. I think it's a moment.
I think it's beautiful because you can almost think that they're thinking about each other, like looking out into the ocean. Like it's not obviously you can't confirm it, but it's like, you know, they're wondering where the other person
where
is.
The other is. I don't now. I can't recall like what the conversation was, but I think like something Gilbert says like almost directly relates to thinking about Anne, basically in that moment.
Wonder what she's doing now. With Bash, right?
Oh, was that the combo before the thing? Yeah.
Well, no, I think he was just kind of discussing his past life in Avonlea, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And is the conversation not with Anne in that scene?
No, like when he's on the
ship.
On the ship in Trinidad.
Oh, on the ship. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's talking about like, oh, this is my life, and then he mentions Anne, like this, like fiery tempered.
Yeah.
No. That's a later scene. That's a later scene.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh God, this is
201 is not fiery temper. 201 is not fiery temper.
But he does mention her in some way, I think.
Yeah.
He might. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he might. But
yeah, anyway, it's beautifully shot.
And I do love what Sav said. You know, you can almost feel in that moment that they're thinking about the other, wondering where they are and, you know, what they're doing and if they're happy.
I feel like Gilbert's always known that he's like had some sort of like feeling towards Anne, but Anne's just like she just doesn't register it.
Yeah.
Like she's always like, oh, you know, but
I think in like 107 she kind of established that, you know, she wants what's best for him and she understands that this is what's best for him. And I think in 201 you kind of get the feeling that, you know, she wonders if what he's doing is making him happy and he's, you know, okay with his life.
It's not exactly like a romance, like, oh well, she doesn't.
No, I don't think it's romantic in her part.
But yeah, that's a great moment.
Just yet, especially because of the whole like Ruby Dibs thing.
Yeah,
I don't think she even like contemplates that.
And whenever I have that moment, I always think of this one song. It's by, I don't remember who it's by, but it's like the lyrics are like, you can put an ocean between our love, it won't keep us apart. And so like this one song, I think it's by Arizona, it's called Oceans Away. like I always think of those two songs in relation to that moment, and I don't know why. It's just such a touching moment and such a beautifully shot moment, establishing, you know, the character arcs of the two characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I was gonna say one of mine, I don't remember what episode this is, but he gets her letter on the ship, or I guess Bash gives it to her. Bash gives it to her. Bash gives it to Gilbert, and Bash is very interested in it, and Gilbert's just admiring out of this letter. And what I love most about this is how into the letter he gets. You know, he sees her letter, he sees the handwriting and stuff, and like the first thing he does is before he even reads it, he's just like, you know, skimming it, you know, absorbing it all in, being like, she wrote to me, this is her. But then after, you know, he reads the letter and stuff, and Bash asks about her, you know, he goes, you know, this one time in Avonlea, or I think this was the letter.
No, there's two separate scenes.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
This is
similar.
But I love this moment is, you know, Bash and him are talking, and Gilbert discusses his life in Avonlea and how he wanted to get away, but literally no one on the ship asks. Absolutely no one. And he brings up Anne. He goes, you know, there was this girl back in Avonlea, Anne. She was a redhead, fiery temper. One time I called her carrots. There was this girl back in Avonlea, Anne. One time I called her carrots, she whacked me over the head with a slate. She was a redhead, fiery temper. I wonder if I'll ever see her again. It's like, literally, no one brings her up.
Nope.
But he's just like wistfully.
He's always ready to.
Bash didn't even ask, like, oh, do you have like a girl, like not a girlfriend, but like, you know, are you like no conversation leading up to that.
But
that makes me think, like in season 3, that like when he must have known, because he talked about her all the time. Like he must have just dropped her name into any conversation that he could.
Oh my god, yeah.
Especially after the letter.
Yeah. But I think it's such a small moment, but I think it's just such a touching moment for us to get an understanding of Gilbert's kind of, in a way, feelings for her and his description of her. And then obviously when he gets the letter, it's just him really admiring it and really appreciating the fact that Anne took the time to write to him and, you know, respond to him. And it's just like, such a cute moment.
I think it's really beautiful that he appreciates like the flounces and like the fancy handwriting and the little like pressed flowers that she does, because I don't think anyone else is like that, and that's kind of what you want, right? Like to have someone appreciate you for like the little things that you do. So that's always so nice.
That's funny.
All right, shall we move on to Becky now?
Okay, so 206, the big haircut reveal. Or the big reunion of, what is it, like 1897?
I think
1898?
96.
96, 97.
So, cinematic masterpiece, I think, comes to mind.
I mean, but to be honest, every Sherbert moment is a cinematic masterpiece.
But there's the build-up of like the sort of like, we know that she's had her haircut, but we like, you don't know what it looks like yet. And then there's this little build-up of her like walking down the stairs, and she's given a glass of breakfast, and you like see her like through the glass, but you don't actually see like what she looks like yet. She's still a bit obscured. And then she goes to school, and Diana gives her the bow, and you don't expect him to be there. You just don't.
That's true, yeah.
I didn't. And also suddenly there's so many more kids in that class than there is in like any other episode, which is really weird.
Because they needed to make that Titanic opening like
what I love most
reveal.
about this is like the music build up is like the
so good.
Okay.
Yeah. And then just like the sort of slow curve of him out of the crowd.
Yeah.
And everybody else is whispering like, oh my gosh, what has just happened to her head? She looks like she's been mangled. And he's just like, hard eyes.
Well, and he doesn't even note it.
But what I love most about the classmates is they part like the goddamn Red Sea, you know? He doesn't care about if she's got long hair, short hair. All he cares about is she's
just Anne.
Just
Yeah.
And I read before, but I actually haven't heard this. But I remember reading on Twitter one time somebody saying that if you like listen very closely, you can hear one of the boys saying in the background, "Does he have a crush on her?"
Oh,
Has anybody
no,
else
really?
noticed this?
What?
No, I haven't.
I'm gonna need to
that.
hear this.
Apparently that's
Me-
a thing.
Really?
I literally after this, I'm gonna get out my AirPods because I've got the new AirPods Pro. You can hear like little background moments in them, so I'm gonna get them out, watch that scene, see if I can hear it. Oh my god, that's
Apparently you can. I seen it on Twitter. I don't know if that's true or not.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's
What I love about it is that I feel like Gilbert's non-reaction helped Anne so much with like all the like bullying that she would have gotten otherwise, because everyone finds like, oh, Gilbert's just like really cool, you know, they see him as this like really cool classmate, and he comes back, no reaction, and everyone at least like decides to keep their mouth shut.
You know, Gilbert's jaw clenches when Mr. Phillips is like, "Oh, we've got a new boy here."
Oh, I love that. Yeah, he's so mad. He's so angry.
Well, he's angry because it's like, you know, he left Avonlea to explore the world and explore these new ideas and stuff, and then he comes back and it's like, well, things aren't different here than what I've experienced. So it's like, it's a tragic moment for him to realize that while he was gone, things never did change. So
yeah, I think that's why he's so like, even like when you see in season 3, he's so passionate about trying to change things, which is more like Anne never had to leave to learn that. Like that was already how she was.
Yeah. Should we move on to Saf?
Tragical romance and all. Oh,
yeah.
what a scene. So at the end of Bash and Me's wedding, where I just love that scene, and like it's like kind of the foundation for so many parallels as well throughout like the three, and how like the framing just before the entire that sequence as well.
Yes, how it like cuts to them.
How like the line tragical romance and all indicates like how well Gilbert has just been paying attention to Anne, and like you don't expect it, but he's like picked up all these things about her where you don't necessarily see it.
What I love most, sorry to interject, was the fact that, you know, it starts off, like that moment starts off as a bit awkward because, you know, the other has a preconception or preconceived notion that, you know, something's going to happen. You know, Anne thinks Gilbert's leaving. Gilbert thinks that Anne doesn't like him because, you know, she thinks he's leaving. But then, you know, they start to speak at once and, you know, she realizes that he's not leaving and he wants to stay with his family. And then she was going to say, you know, I was going to be not an asshole to you when, you know, it's your last year here. And then she reveals that she wants to be a teacher like Miss Stacy. And I just love the moment because, you know, he feels, the look in his face is like he's so proud for making that decision that she wants to be like Miss Stacy, and she wants to have this dream for herself and she wants to have this goal to accomplish. So I love that, you know, he feels proud of her, but I also love, I think someone else was going to mention this, the moment of the family where he discusses, you know, he wants to be with his family.
And that moment is also a nod to when like as soon as he got back, he was studying, and then she's like, well, what did she say? Go on with your goals or something, and she was just mad that she hadn't figured out what she wanted to do, and he was studying, and it's just like a nice like little tie up at the end there where they're just kind of happy for each other.
It's also a little parallel then to 309, is it, where she goes and she knocks on the door and she says about Bash and Gilbert being like her family to Hazel. Then I think it's nice too. Because that's sort of what they've become to each other in the however many months that they've been married. Bash and Mary, obviously.
Well, and then also, you know, the look back in season 2, you know, when Gilbert says he wants to be with the family, it cuts back to Bash and Mary and the Cuthberts. And then, like you said, in 309, when, you know, Anne goes to Hazel and says, well, they're my family now, it just really brings back the point that these two have become family to each other, that, you know, they're not just friends, their families have grown close to each other. They understand the deeper meaning of why they are the way that they are, why they, you know, do the things that they do, because they've really spent so much time together.
And they say as well about like almost any scene that they're in, and they're in that sort of like face to face kind of like tableau where like he's on right side and she's on the left, and it's like a parallel scene to like an altar, like a wedding altar.
It's also a parallel scene to season 1 where, you know, they come in through the schoolhouse and he's standing on the right and she's on the left.
Yeah.
And it's also a parallel scene to season 3 when after the dance scene, he's on the right, she's on the left.
And the same for they're running away in the fair. That's always how they're positioned. I am telling you now, there's no way that Moira was not going to give us a wedding.
Oh my God.
No way. Yeah.
She was setting it up.
Well, the fact that like, you know, the last scene, you know, the way it was shot was just them in the hallway of, you know, kind of door opening of that church with kind of the church being that background. I'm like, this Moira's mine, or whoever was the cinematographer, whoever was the cinematographer of the episode. It's just like, mwah, chef's kiss. So I guess now we move on to season 3. I mean, you know, I feel like season 3,
I feel like,
you know, all of it, but you know, we've narrowed it down to our favorites. And if you know us by now, most of these won't be a surprise. You know, given how much we all wax poetic about certain scenes on our Twitters, most of this won't be a surprise, but Sav is our first one.
Yes, the iconic scene that is the dance. It's just, rule, if you see it, you share it, you know?
You retweet it.
It's just such, okay. My first indication of the dance scene was the little summary that we got.
It was before the summary. Remember, we got that grainy ass trailer. That wasn't even like HD, but like there was the moment where I think Gilbert looks back at her inside.
But like, it's just like, because it said emotions run high during the dance practice or something along those lines. And I was just like, oh my God, like just excited to the max. But then I wasn't expecting much from Sherbet.
Right.
I was like, it's going to be awkward, like it's nothing. And then it comes around and I couldn't understand what was happening.
Like 2 minutes and 20 seconds of pure ecstasy, like
and then the slow motion, just everything. And he interrupts the sequence.
just spins her around.
Oh, it's so bold. It's so brazen.
Well, and what I love most is like when it slows down, it's suddenly like
switches music
about the rest of the world. The rest of the world doesn't exist. It's just them.
Does anyone know the track? Like, it's not the
Dashing White Sergeant.
It's not the Dashing White Sergeant. It like blends into
this love theme.
The little like
it's very stringy, isn't it? Like string music.
Yeah, I don't think there's a specific one on the soundtrack.
No, there isn't.
Not for season 3, no.
No,
but it like just blends in and everything slows down and you're just in it.
We get the iconic Nessie Bert.
Hey, he's saying hello in that.
I don't care what you all say. I love that moment.
I do.
Like,
so everybody loves it.
Layla, you could pop out. No, just kidding.
It's just so like
it's fun though. It's like cheeky
like, young
and, like,
again.
Yeah. And can we talk about how like not breathless, but just like breathless,
I mean, I didn't breathe. I didn't blink watching that, so I can imagine Anne.
I mean, Anne on Tumblr. We were having our moment too.
She looked so dazed.
Yeah.
She's like, what is happening?
Okay, the eyes that he has, like, I think it's his left eye starts to become a little lazy, and it's just like his mouth is like slightly parted, and he's just like gazing intently. And he takes this deep breath, and he kind of nods in an understanding. It's like that look is one of my favorite looks because it's like he's just enamored with her, and he's just so caught up in it, and he's just like.
They're both just so caught up, and they forget everything.
Literally.
And the rest of the world doesn't exist in those 2 minutes because right when her hand touches his, it's like the whole world stops.
I was just sitting there like, what in the Pride and Prejudice
Yes.
happening. Like,
This is Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth
don't even
Bennet.
get me started.
And then they said it in episode 6. Like, oh my god.
Mhm.
When his hand
She
touched
said it.
mine, it was
But yeah,
And,
like even the whole time, like Anne was just like, he's still looking at me, and he's like,
Like,
she's still
yeah.
looking at me, like,
I know.
oh
this
my
is
god.
happening, and I love that. I feel like we tend to forget that it was the same episode as the little antitoxin. Like, what's an antitoxin?
Yes, the
yes.
flirting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like Anne's starting to like grow comfortable around him, and she's like no longer being like, okay, this is super awkward with Ruby. She's just like, I'm comfortable with him. I'm gonna shoot my shot a little bit, even though I don't understand.
Like,
why.
I feel like all the other girls kind of accepted it as well. Like, they're family friends, so like it's okay that they talk to each other. Like, and then they're all growing up, so it's like less childish, you know.
And then also remember her heart eyes at the end of the scene where she's like taking those deep breaths, and he takes the deep breaths too, and she's just like, when she suggests, or they suggest the obituary for Mary, and he really is touched by that because she knows how much Mary meant to him, and he knows how much Mary meant to her, and having that obituary, I think, really touched his heart, being like, this would be something I want us to work on. And just the hard eyes in that scene, because he's just like, we've come
everywhere
standing, like no arguing.
And there's just that little moment at the very end of the dance where they bow at each other. Now, you've talked about him already, but she is so caught in a spell still.
Yeah.
She looks like she's like completely suspended in something still. It's all very magic.
So blown.
It's like something's happening here.
Yeah.
What's up?
I can't believe that Rachel didn't
No, Rachel
Oh my
didn't
god,
notice.
literally no one made a comment.
No
Not
one picked up on it.
Nobody said like, hello, you're in the wrong spot twice.
or even Rachel, Caleb Lynn, okay, we just discussed how Caleb Lynn took one for the team and quickly like ran into Gilbert's spy. He like knew this dude had signed
Bless up, Caleb.
He took one for the okay, I'm just gonna go here.
He made me
also
an idiot, but
yeah.
He's our idiot.
He's all right.
That little moment as well where he lets her go back into the other night, and his hand.
I tweeted about this yesterday.
His hand.
It's literally
what is it? The
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo. I remember discussing it on Tumblr. I was like,
Creation of
hey,
Adam.
Michelangelo who?
I always find it funny when I find screenshots of that scene though, because it looks like Caleb is trying to take his hand as well. And I'm like, I don't blame him, shoot your shot.
I hate that the moment they let go, there's someone in the frame.
Yes.
I hate
Charlie,
that.
I think.
Charlie.
I'm pretty sure it's Caleb Lynn's hand that like comes down and like separates their hands. Like Caleb Lynn ruined
and Charlie in the way of the little like the moment, but that's okay.
Charlie, but Charlie's like in the background of Nessie Bird just being like
yeah, just sad, just pouty face.
His face is just so sad. He's just like
he knows that this is happening.
He knows this is over.
I respect the fact that straight after that he went and asked to walk her home.
He was like, I see what you're doing, Gilbert. I'm gonna shoot my shot too.
Yeah. I also love the moment where he finally gets her to her side, and then they're in that like circle, and he like holds her hand closer to him, and
no.
So perfect.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
I love that moment.
I love that.
Like grabbed it.
Yeah. Like proper hand holding.
Yes, he like pulls it to his chest, and she's just like. Although I feel like this moment is a bit of Amy Beth breaking character, because she's starting to kind of giggle on that scene, and then the next cut is her like being kind of straight faced with like a slight smirk. I'm pretty sure she either burst out laughing or she was giggling, because in the next shot she's not doing it anymore. So I'm like 99% sure that she broke in that moment.
It's just so perfect though. Like,
and the little turn, the spin.
I mean,
and the look he gives her after that.
What I love most about it is support.
And it's a pure elation.
What I love most is like, I feel like in this kind of moment, he's thinking back to what Winnie said. You got to break the rules. You got to do it. It doesn't work if you don't break the rules. At least one.
If we give her props for one thing.
You know what? he starts thinking about that. He starts kind of smiling a bit. And he's kind of like, okay,
I'm gonna do this.
I'm gonna do something here. And so, she's kind of like, what's he doing? Why is he smiling so weird? Like, what is this?
I feel it's like it's not a parallel, I guess, to like the cogs turning, and which is the same kind of thing that he was doing right before he pulled her hair.
Yeah.
Like, how do I get her attention? This is what I'm gonna do.
Well, and then like he kind of catches her arm, but then hand, and then it goes down to his wrist or her wrist, and then she's just like, okay, like, I'm down with this. Let's go.
Let's go. Such a good moment.
Yeah.
And like all the confusion after it, that's a whole other discussion. But let's move on.
All right, so I guess we move on to our next person, who is Layla.
Yes, this is an obvious one, and very popular one, which is the porch scene, which shows us Sherbert's relationship as a friendship, and I think it's so important because we got like basically no moments like that, or very little. So yeah, they're just like discussing what had just happened with the whole like demonstration scene, and like they do a throwback to the show be arguing about something right now, like in the season 1 episode 7.
Yeah.
I think it's just like so sweet that they understand each other, and they understand where they're coming from, and they're still hard eyes, but like it's like in a friendship way, and like I care about you, and everything.
I just love the whole connection back to the spelling. Like
oh my god, the team, like
and this is my second favorite scene. I think I wrote a song about this moment too, so I feel like a special place in my heart. I just love this scene. Okay,
amazing.
I think it's the first time that we see them as like proper friends as well. Like you just assume that there's like stuff that's gone on like off scene, we don't see it because it's happened like off camera or whatever, but it's like the first time that you see them actually like sitting down together, properly communicating, like they're friends. It's nice.
And what I love most about it is like the fact that they've kind of come to an understanding about each other, and then she teases him and he teases her, of course. Then she accelerates it, doesn't accelerate it, but she gives it more by looking at his lips, and he's
god, that was like
happening.
Yeah. They were totally gonna kiss, right?
Oh,
like,
100%.
And there's just like that little slow turn of like his body as well.
Yeah, and
he leans in.
Yeah,
he does. Like, no, he was gonna go for it, but I respect that and
said what she said.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so happy she did that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he was just forgetting everything.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, don't be that guy, And
exactly.
he was like, okay, I'm gonna walk away because this is not.
It's getting a bit heavy.
It was a little bit like weird because like we saw what happened in episode 6, and then like we see what happens in episode 8, but like in episode 7 they're like, oh, he doesn't know who Winnie is. Like literally he's like, Winnie who, when she says she's a lucky gal.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
I feel like he just got into a situation where he didn't know what was happening and he just couldn't get out of it, and he just went with it.
Yeah, I mean, he felt like him true self, obviously, with Anne and helping her with that stuff. But yeah, it was just a good episode overall for Sherbert, and that one like took the cake. Like after everything that happened, you thought there wouldn't be anything more, and then it was the porch scene. And
the only tragic thing about that scene is it's just like a little too dark.
Oh yeah.
For GIFs. I mean, it's beautiful. I love the way it is.
Yes.
But it's so difficult to do you can't take you can't see anything in screenshots.
No, it's so dark.
It just makes me sad, but it's brilliant. I love that scene.
So
and the big scene that we're leading up to, favorite scene by Rebecca and Evelyn.
Oh god. If you know Becky and I right now, you gotta this is just obvious for us.
Superior.
Bonfire scene. I mean, there are no other words to describe it other than, oh my god. But what I love most about it is, the music. I love the music buildup. So it starts off slow and kind of leads up with Gilbert's movements of being slow and timid, walking up to her. And then it speeds up and does the little motif of the White Way of Delight,
and that lovely, like really beautiful woodwind sort of
Exactly. And as
Yeah.
she
Oh,
turns,
it's lovely. It's so ethereal.
and as she turns and she's showing him in that moment that she is beautiful, and he understands that she's beautiful, but he's also never really been like, okay, this is the woman that I want. He's always been like, oh yeah,
I
it's
think it's the first time that we've actually, like, I fully don't think that, like, what she looks like to him and to us is
Yeah.
what she looks like to everybody else in that scene. Like, I think that's us seeing her through his eyes.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
Like, that's who she is to him.
exactly.
Let's be honest. Anne was a mess in that scene. Like,
Oh, yeah, she was.
if you're talking about like it realistically, it wasn't the best she's ever looked, But I just find it amazing in that scene where he looks like she's the most beautiful person he's ever seen, and I think that's why that moment is like so nice.
Yeah.
And it's just really so beautiful, but it's I really what I love most about it is he's really getting an understanding of how much he loves her in this moment. He doesn't he has this big issue of like, okay, who is he going to marry, who does he want to marry, but then in this moment he's like, do I love her? I have these deep strong feelings for her, and then do I want her?
Yeah.
And I think it was unexpected as well. Like, you knew that he was going to be like elsewhere while they were all together, and the rest of them are all sort of playing games and like being kids, and then he arrives looking like a man cut short, like in a suit. He's a baby in a suit. And then he has like, you don't expect him to turn up. He arrives with the lantern, and you didn't, well, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but I certainly wasn't expecting him to turn up. And
no, I was neither.
Yeah. Then there's that really lovely scene where she's dancing, and his voice is so soft when he speaks to her. When he asks, like,
can I speak with you?
Oh, the hand moment is like my favorite.
Yeah, and
I cannot get over it because it's like
sobers up in like a second.
Yeah.
Well, and what I love most about it is like, he brings out his hand for her, and he's a very gentleman about it, but then as soon as their hands touch, she kind of has like this switch in her mind, and she like comes down, she's like, oh, happy-go-lucky, but like as soon as she lets go of his hand and looks in his eyes, she's like, I need to sober up for this.
Yeah,
and I think this is something that you see quite often through season 3, where there's little glimpses of the two of them just knowing instinctively what the other one is thinking just by looking at each other. Like, he arrives to the door in 303, and she knows straight away there's something wrong.
With like news about Mary.
Yes, exactly. And then she looks him straight in the eyes and realizes something's up with him. I need to sober up. Like, this could be a huge conversation. The fact that he's interrupting this celebration for something super big, something super dramatic, something super serious. But and what I love, sorry.
Oh, sorry, you can go.
No, you go. You were saying something.
Oh no, because I was going to move on to the sort of like bonfire scene part 2.
Yeah, same. Great minds think alike.
Where it stretches into that super angsty, and like, if anybody knows me, also, I love angst. Like, I
do too.
thrive off angst.
Tell us this.
And so that scene was like right up my alley. Was just perfect. Like,
what I love most is like he's tense around his back or his neck, and kind of the side of his face in a bit as well. He has got this twitch that he does, or this thing that he does whenever he's around Anne. And what I love most is that she's the person he seeks out for advice. Nobody else but Anne. He doesn't trust Bash with this, really. He doesn't trust his friends with this. He doesn't trust Winnie because Winnie was just there. He trusts Anne because Anne is Anne's become this important person to him.
Yeah. And like the whole just one thing moment is like where everything just shifts and you can feel it.
Yeah.
Well,
like, it gives me chills.
And I think in this moment Anne understands, she has these feelings for him. She doesn't understand the feelings, but she does have these feelings for him. And I think in that moment she becomes a little upset because she thought she would have more time to figure out what those feelings were. She's very pragmatic, and she's like, the Sorbonne is your future. Like, you need to do this. I'm not the person you need. You can't
Like,
do this for
yeah.
me. Of course she blows up because, you know, she's just like, I don't know what you want. Like, I
She's
can't be
drunk
what you
too,
want.
you know, so.
Yeah.
But I think she's like going back and reverting back to, you know, season 1 where she thinks that she's so ugly that no one would ever want her. And, you know, she starts to self-doubt that, you know, he doesn't want me. He wants an idealized version of me. He doesn't want me. And I can't be what he wants.
Yeah.
And I think the way that he verbalizes it isn't the most effective
Great,
either.
no.
Like, obviously,
Well,
like, he's a
no.
kid,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't think that he went there in that specific event thinking
But I
that was
think,
what was going to come out
No.
during it.
I agree.
Because
I
it
agree.
seems like it startles him almost half as much as it startles her. But like, obviously, you know, it's been something that's inside him for a very long time. Like, he's felt it. It's just that he's
I think-
verbalized it for the first time.
Yes, I agree. And I think his thinking, like, you know, just one thing, it's like he doesn't want to outright say it because he doesn't want to he doesn't want to scare her away, even though he does scare her away. He wants to be like, there is this one thing that's holding me back, and you know, it kind of is you. And you know, she takes it as a bad thing, but you know, he didn't mean for it to be a bad thing. He meant for it like, you're the person who's kind of holding me back because I have these feelings for you. I have these very strong feelings for you.
Yeah, I think he meant it in a way like, I would leave all these like fancy bells and whistles for you. And she takes it as, you're holding me, like,
I'm holding you
me
back.
Yeah. And that's like, it's just miscommunication, right? But
their brand.
But in this moment, Gilbert is I don't want sunbursts and marble halls.
Yeah.
I want you.
And then the girls arrive, like absolute gremlins, and they ruin everything.
I think she feels in that moment like saved, but he's devastated because for him, this is Anne's rejection. This is her rejecting him. He's just devastated because when he said that, he expected something different. He expected her to be like, okay, well, let's work through this. But now he's realizing that, well, she doesn't want me, so I need to go through with this with Winnie. I need to do this.
And I think as well, I know that people have very different opinions on this thing. Or like the main thing that I take from it though is that, like, I think because like we've watched this show and there's like so many different things that happen in it that modern problems put in like period clothing, and to me it's just like such a parallel to like what modern consent is now for people. Like, she didn't explicitly say yes, therefore it was a no. He didn't ask a question, granted, but like it wasn't a yes anyway. So like, what else could he have interpreted it as? He, you know, she didn't tell him that that's what I want to. So what else was he supposed to think?
Yeah, I don't think that him walking away was necessarily the wrong thing to do. I just feel like he didn't express himself as clearly as he could have. And obviously Anne was kind of intoxicated. So
yeah.
Well, yes,
it
yes,
just wasn't
and I
the
agree.
best situation. Yeah.
No, and I agree, and I don't think it was the best situation, but I think in that moment that they both were just very upset by what happened, and they both had these strong feelings come out in different directions of, you know, Gilbert being like, I want you, not really Winifred, and I don't know what to do because I want you, but I also want this dream of being a doctor. And Anne's like, well, you can't have me and be a doctor. You know, you can't have this wonderful life. But, you know, but you can't have this wonderful life of being super rich, but also have me.
It was Paris.
And
that was the thing.
And then I just think that once the girls come and, you know, ruin it, he looks like he's about to cry. I mean, it knocks the wind out of him. Like, the wind is just knocked out. He just like slumps over and he's just like
he
this isn't what I can.
Twice as well, I think, and then when they miss each other, like Anne.
Yeah, they miss each other. Yeah.
I feel like the whole idea of marriage was just put on them. It's something that they didn't need, and Winifred's dad was just like, oh, if you want to get married, like, they didn't need that. I don't know.
Yeah,
he wasn't ready for that. But
no, he wasn't.
I know that, like, we're sort of focusing on the characters, but like, big props to LJZ because he did phenomenal job in that scene.
Yeah,
it was
literally my favorite scene of his. I mean, you know,
and
you could
the very like minute sort of little actions, like when he turns back and walks away again, and his fingers flex around the lantern.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he just like he just clenches his fist one more time in like distress.
Yeah.
He's
No,
the
I think
king
he
of
does a
micro
really good job.
expressions. He does such a good
Well,
job.
and it's just the eye expressions as well. You know, he tells instead of telling, he shows it through his facial expressions and through his eyes. I mean, he does a good job showing what the characters are feeling in that moment through those eyes, and I really loved that moment in this.
Yeah. Because
scene.
in reality, Gilbert doesn't really speak that.
No.
No,
Like
he's very introverted.
He's not very talkative. Like he was more talkative in season 1. Then as he like grew apart from the rest of like his peers, his classmates, he just kind of closes in and doesn't speak that much.
No.
And he becomes too much focused on like what the future has for him and not as focused on what's happening in the present.
Yeah, I mean, he just becomes solely focused on that goal of becoming a doctor because, you know, he's like, I need to provide for my family. I need to do this. It's my dream. I have to do this. But in reality, it's like, well, no, you can have the love of your life and you can also have a job you want. I mean, I think it parallels so well with our modern lives because I think we all got caught up in our own lives of wanting stuff for our future and wanting to be successful and stuff that we forget about, you know, well, you can have these things and you can also be successful in them. So I think it's just a terrific scene all in all.
Yeah, I agree. Great scene.
Yeah. And,
10 out of 10 stars.
I mean, there's a reason why it's still my pinned tweet on, you know, my Twitter. So, should we move on to our shout outs of the week?
Yes.
All right. So for me, this past week, or when we're recording this, it's been a few days since we had a terrific trending party for the 1 year without Anne. I mean, me personally, what I love most about that trending party was seeing this fandom so active. You know, most of the time I'm not super active on my Twitter, and I know other people are the same. You know, they've got their real lives and stuff, but seeing everybody together, you know, for one goal of trending, and we trended in a lot of places: Canada, the United States,
that was a big one.
Brazil, of course, and worldwide.
Worldwide number 8 it reached.
I mean, it just seeing everyone reminiscing about old times and making themselves loud again, I really enjoyed that.
And it was lovely because I haven't been around since November, and so seeing like all of the things that happened in the interim between like November, just like such a hot mess some points, like it was really interesting read.
I think it was Jane with an E who posted this. It might have been her, it might have been someone else, where she posted like a calendar of like what happened in each month.
Oh,
you know,
somebody posted that?
Oh, wow.
It might have been Jane, it might have been someone else, but I know it was one of those two. It was either Jane or the one, what's her name?
And I loved seeing how everyone got into and with an E and like the fandom,
where they were on
like,
the cancellation.
which is what we were talking about in our last episode, essentially.
It was either Jane or
it was
Sandy.
Amazing.
It was either Jane or Sandy. I can't remember who it was.
It feels like something that Sandy would post.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a terrific
way.
way.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, just so many great posts and so many.
I saw some accounts that I haven't seen in months. I was just so surprised to see those people. I was like, wow. Yeah, that was really
and then can we talk about Brenda's amazing post? I mean, come on.
An amazing musician with a hidden talent.
I mean, come on. Good night, Anne, on that instrument. I mean, who knew? That was incredible. And then the fact that she got, I think it was either Ari or
I think it was Ari. That commented.
Ari replied to her, like, just saying, this is wonderful. And I was like, yes, girl, I love it. So,
and big props to Fandom Lurker for, I think that they were the one that put together the musical arrangements.
Yes, she did.
Yes.
Yeah,
and he Ari commented on one of her posts from like months ago too, so that was really sweet.
I mean, just big shout out to the people who created this trend and did this trending party, because this was a terrific party.
And we also had the 1 year without Anne group that made
the video.
The video
that made me emotional. That was That was so sweet.
I mean, just seeing the real people behind these Twitter accounts, and knowing that these people are still fighting for it, even though all that's going on, and still appreciating it for all it's worth. It's just great work, everyone.
Yeah.
Another shout out for me on a different topic. I think I'm going to move on to more so articles that I found. One article that I want to give a huge shout out to is this one from BuzzFeed. Discussed a most recent Netflix original movie that was just so shitty. And in it, they were discussing about, kind of the shitty and manipulative tactics Netflix does in order to get people to watch their stuff. And then they, really make a discussion about how Netflix has really gone downhill and stuff. And at first I was like, oh, it's just another article about how Netflix is a terrible company. But then as I read into it, I'm like, these are manipulative tactics that we have discussed. I'm like, I feel like I'm not shouting into the void anymore. Like, I feel like someone is understanding exactly what else I'm feeling. And it's like, finally, even though they're not directly correlated with me, I feel like we're being seen in other ways. So I was like, I love that article. Gonna, bookmark it and reread it whenever a new Netflix original that's so bad comes out and be like, yep, other people understand what I'm feeling.
There was also that other article, Sav, that you found for the party specifically.
It was just a nice summary of about our trending party, and it had a few tweets attached to it, and I just thought it was just a lovely summary if anyone wanted to read it.
That account also did the interview with Dalila. Which is really good.
Yeah.
Now we're just going to be, shouting out some other favorite moments that didn't make our top moment, and feel free to discuss it in the comments, or, add us with your favorite scene if it didn't make the list.
Obviously, the kiss scene at the very, very end.
3 kiss scenes.
I mean, the entire
whole sequence,
because, no, I don't think anyone expected that much, and it would just take far too long to discuss the entire thing. So please interact with us and tell us what you think about the scenes as well.
Just a great ending for season 3 altogether.
Yeah,
it was perfect.
I guess for me, the hug scene, like, that's incredible. Like, just another look into their relationship, and like, even though it's so sad, it's just like something we also weren't expecting when we were like first watching the episode. What else? Take Notice. The scene of Stacey's house, like where they're talking on the marriage bench, like that's so amazing. Like the parallels, but this is gonna take too long. So
I was gonna say the reproduction scene where Anne asks about reproduction. Even though books they have 7 kids, so you don't really be asking about that. And I guess think as well. Gilbert waiting for Anne at the church. I believe it's in 303.
Easter Mass.
So it's a very small scene.
But it's just a terrific one.
Yeah.
And then
another one that I love, it's not really like a very big scene, but the I'd make a terrible wife scene. It's so funny. I love it. It's just so ridiculous, and she's so frightened.
It's very relatable as well, I feel.
Oh yeah. 210 when he spots her on the train. I might ask you the same question when she asks him, "What are you doing here?" And then after that, the discussion while they're walking down the train, little boardwalk, and then, obviously Cole says, and also he's got a crush on you.
Also taking the box of lights from her, like, I'll take that for you.
Yep.
When they're going up to the gallery in the town hall, and there's just like the softest little moment where like everybody else is passing and she doesn't care at all, like if they fall down the stairs and break their necks, like but
everyone except Gilbert.
The entirety.
Be careful when he's climbing the stairs.
The ladles. I'm like waiting for Sap to say the ladles.
The ladles Gil.
Oh, I love that one.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the moment just before they get their results, and Gilbert is just peering through a bunch of ladles and saucepans, frying pans at and it's just my favorite
stolen glances
moment. Ladle.
And it's the first moment that they see each other where both of them sort of half acknowledge that like letters have been received, but they don't reciprocate each other's feelings.
And then I guess to end it all up is just any scene where Anne or Gilbert gives each other hard eyes is just A 10 out of 10 moment for me.
Yes,
The
and the Nook
entirety-
scene, excuse me, in 307. Just like,
Yes.
oh, such a small scene.
The entirety of the protest as well, just
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and Gilbert standing up for Anne as well.
There's so
So
many
And
moments.
just very, very, very quickly, but like anytime he breaks the rules,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
he gives off to Mr. Phillips in Cat. And it's like, oh, sir, without, any help from you, I learned this by myself. And she's just like,
she's
what
like,
a man. He rips
Yes.
up the
the little
the
rule
letter.
sheet.
The
Yep,
rules,
yep.
yeah.
Yeah. So I just think him giving in and becoming what Anne wants, I think is a great scene. Like we said, if you've got any moments that we did not discuss, please feel free to add us, comment it, reply,
use the
retweet.
hashtag.
Use the hashtag.
Use our hashtag, hashtag Avonlea Tales. Sorry about that. Didn't know our own hashtag. Yeah, feel free to do that.
It's in our bio.
Anyways, thanks for watching our episodes. Where can we find you at, ladies?
So I am Giltamai Ann with an underscore after each word on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram.
I am Chaos and Cam with underscore in between each word on Twitter.
I'm Layla on A Nature Symphony on Twitter and Story Sherbert on Tumblr, but that's dead.
I am Queen Anne Blythe, all one word on both Twitter and Tumblr. Thank you so much for listening to our episode. We hope you enjoyed it and keep
Churning.
That.
Butter.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Hey.
Bye.
Yay, bye.